Okay, so it's earnings season again,
It is.
and we're going to take a look at some silver miners.
Sounds good.
We've got reports, press releases, financial statements, a whole bunch of stuff to dig through.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
We've got 5 companies that we're going to focus on today: Coeur Mining, Fortuna Silver Mines, First Majestic Silver, and Silvercorp Metals.
Okay.
Plus, there's some buzz about a potential acquisition by First Majestic.
Interesting.
So, should be a lot to unpack here. There's record earnings for some, big strategic moves for others. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, each company kind of tells a different story about the state of the silver mining industry right now.
It really does. So why don't we start with Coeur Mining? Looks like they had a kind of mixed bag this quarter.
Yeah, a little bit up and down for them. On the one hand, their Rochester mine expansion is complete and exceeding expectations.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what kind of numbers are we talking here?
They're hitting daily throughput rates over 88,000 tons.
88,000 tons per day.
Per day.
That's a massive operation.
It is a massive operation.
What kind of environmental impact does a mine of that size have? Is Coeur doing anything to mitigate that impact?
That's a really good question. And to be honest, the reports that you sent me, they don't really get into that level of detail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But one thing that is clear is that their Silvertip mine is still facing challenges and dragging down their overall performance.
So one mine's booming while the other one's lagging behind.
Right.
What's the story with Silvertip? Why are they facing these challenges?
Well, it looks like a few different things are happening there. They've had some permitting delays and encountered some unexpected geological issues, and then they've also had some labor shortages.
So kind of a perfect storm of challenges.
Yeah, you could say that.
So it sounds like they've got their work cut out for them to turn things around at Silvertip. But on a more positive note, they're in the process of acquiring Silvercrest Metals, right?
That's right. And if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, this acquisition could be a total game changer for Coeur. Well, Silvercrest owns the Las Chispas mine, which is a really high-grade silver mine in Mexico.
Oh, wait.
And if this acquisition goes through, it would give Coeur a major boost in terms of production and reserves.
So they're looking to offset the struggles at Silvertip by bringing in a high-performing asset.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty risky, though. Acquisitions always come with a certain level of uncertainty.
Oh, absolutely. There could be integration challenges, unexpected costs, even potential pushback from regulators.
I see.
It's definitely a gamble, but it's one that could pay off big time if it's successful.
Makes sense. So let's move on to Fortuna Silver Mines. They're singing a much happier tune this quarter. They're reporting record earnings.
They are. They're very happy. Fortuna is really showing what can happen when you have strong cost discipline.
Yeah.
They've been able to keep their expenses under control, even as metal prices have been rising, and you can see that reflected in their bottom line.
Impressive.
And on top of that, they've achieved a positive net cash position, which is a really big win for any mining company.
So they're making money and they're sitting on a pile of cash.
That's right.
Pretty enviable position to be in.
Yeah.
I did notice, though, that their all-in sustaining costs, or AISC, varied quite a bit across their different mines.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's a key detail to pay attention to. AISC is basically the total cost of producing an ounce of gold or its equivalent in other metals.
Okay.
Lower AISC generally indicates higher profitability.
So what were Fortuna's AISC numbers?
Their AISC per ounce of gold equivalent ranged from $11,176 at their Seguela mine all the way up to $2,763 at their San Jose mine.
Wow, that's quite a range.
Yeah, and it shows how the specific characteristics of each mine, things like ore grade, location, infrastructure, can really impact production costs.
Makes sense. So it sounds like Fortuna's got a good handle on managing costs at some of their mines, while others are more expensive to operate.
Yeah.
Is that something to be concerned about?
It's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah.
Ideally, they would want to bring down those costs at the mines that are more expensive to operate.
Yeah.
But overall, their record earnings suggest that they're doing a good job of managing their entire portfolio of assets.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about First Majestic Silver. They also had some positive results this quarter, particularly with increased production at their Santa Elena mine.
That's right. They've also been putting in a lot of work to improve labor relations and operational efficiency at their San Dimas mine.
Yeah.
Which actually faced some challenges earlier this year.
It did.
But those efforts seem to be paying off, at least based on their Q3 production numbers.
Okay, so they're focused on making their existing operations more efficient. But let's talk about that potential acquisition we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, okay.
They're the ones who are looking at Gato Silver, right?
And they are. This is
Yeah.
a really big deal, and it could totally reshape the landscape of the silver mining industry.
Wow.
Gato Silver owns the Cerro Los Gatos mine in Mexico, which is a pretty promising asset, and it could add a lot of value to First Majestic's portfolio.
So it sounds like First Majestic is looking to significantly expand their footprint in the silver market.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
But what's the rationale behind this acquisition? What makes Gato Silver such an attractive target?
Well, Cerro Los Gatos is a relatively new mine, and it has a long mine life and high-grade silver deposits.
Okay.
It's also located in a mining-friendly jurisdiction with really well-established infrastructure, which means that the development risks and costs are lower.
So it's a strategic move to acquire a high-quality asset with strong growth potential.
Exactly.
But like we saw with Coeur mining, acquisitions aren't without their risks.
Oh, for sure. Due diligence is absolutely crucial in these situations.
Of course.
First Majestic is going to need to really carefully assess Gato Silver's financials, their operations, their environmental track record.
Right.
They need to make sure they're making a sound investment.
Makes sense.
And on top of that, they've got to navigate the complexities of regulatory approvals and shareholder scrutiny.
Definitely sounds like a high-stakes game.
It is.
But if they can pull it off, it could really propel them to a leadership position in the silver mining industry. Now let's talk about Silvercorp Metals. They've been busy diversifying their portfolio, right?
That's right, they have been. This year, they acquired a 75% interest in the El Domo copper-gold project and a 98.7% interest in the Condor gold project,
Okay.
both of which are located in Ecuador.
So this is a pretty big step for them, moving beyond just silver.
Yeah, it really is. It's a significant move for them.
It seems like they're trying to capitalize on the growing demand for copper and gold, especially with the rise of renewable energy technologies in electric vehicles.
You got it. That's exactly right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
By diversifying their assets, they're positioning themselves to benefit from a wider range of market trends, and they're also reducing their reliance on the silver market, which can be pretty volatile.
Exactly. It's a really smart way to spread their bets and create a more resilient business model.
It is. So
Yeah.
they're kind of hedging against market volatility.
Yep, you could say that.
So you mentioned earlier that Silvercorp has partnered with a Chinese mining company, Henan Found Mining.
I did.
That sounds interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's a fascinating partnership. It gives Silvercorp access to a ton of additional resources and expertise, which is super valuable as they venture into these new territories and these new projects like El Domo and Condor.
That makes sense. So it's like they're tapping into a whole new network of knowledge and experience.
Exactly.
What's in it for Henan Found Mining? Why would they want to partner with Silvercorp?
Well, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Okay.
So Henan Found benefits from Silvercorp's experience operating in North and South America.
Oh, I see.
And on the other side of that, Silvercorp gains valuable insights into the Chinese market, and they get a really reliable partner with a strong track record.
So it's like a win-win situation.
I think so.
Okay, so looking at all 5 of these companies that we've discussed, what are some of the trends that stand out to you?
Well, we've already touched on diversification. But another really clear trend is this heightened focus on cost control.
Okay.
Metal prices have been volatile, and so these miners are prioritizing efficiency to maintain profitability.
That makes sense, especially in a market like this. Every dollar counts. So what are some specific examples of how these companies are controlling costs?
Well, Fortuna, for example, they've implemented this new energy saving program at their San Jose mine, and it's already reduced electricity consumption by 15%.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And on top of that, they've been streamlining their supply chains and negotiating better deals with suppliers.
So they're really looking at every aspect of their operation.
Yeah, every little bit helps.
Are the other companies doing similar things?
Yeah, they are. First Majestic, they've been investing in automation and technology to improve efficiency and reduce labor costs at their San Dimas mine.
Okay.
And then Coeur Mining, they're focusing on optimizing their processes at Rochester to try to maximize throughput and reduce waste.
So it sounds like they're all really tightening their belts and trying to do more with less.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But cost control is only part of the equation, right? They also need to find ways to grow their production and revenue.
Right. You're exactly right. And that's where those acquisitions that we talked about come into play.
Right.
Coeur Mining and First Majestic are both trying to take a big step forward in terms of production growth through their acquisitions.
It's interesting to see how these companies are using different approaches to achieve their goals.
It is.
Some of them are really focused on organic growth
Right.
through cost control and efficiency improvements, while others are going the inorganic route through acquisitions.
Yeah, and there's really no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
The best strategy for each company depends on their specific circumstances,
Of course.
their risk tolerance, and their long-term goals.
Like a game of chess?
Yeah, kind of.
So out of the 5 companies that we've discussed, who do you think is best positioned for the future?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know, but there must be some frontrunners.
I mean, each company has its own strengths and weaknesses.
True. But some of them must be better positioned to navigate the challenges and opportunities that are coming up.
I think Fortuna is in a really strong position.
Okay.
I mean, their commitment to cost discipline has really paid off.
It has.
And they've built a really solid financial foundation for future growth.
Yeah.
And then their diversified portfolio also helps to mitigate risk.
So they're like the tortoises in the race.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. What about First Majestic? Their acquisition of Gatos Silver could be a game changer, but it also has some pretty significant risks.
No doubt about it. If they can successfully integrate Gatos operations and really leverage their assets, they could become a major force in the silver market.
Yeah.
But large-scale acquisitions always carry risks, and it's hard to say whether they'll be able to navigate those effectively.
So high risk, high reward.
Exactly.
What about Coeur Mining? Their acquisition of Silvercrest Metals is also a pretty big move.
It is. It's a bold move, for sure. I think they're really betting on the long-term potential of silver. And this acquisition gives them access to a really high-quality asset that can significantly boost their production.
Yeah.
But they also need to address the challenges at their Silvertip mine if they want to achieve consistent profitability.
So a mix of potential and problems.
Right.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of moving pieces, and their success really depends on their ability to manage all of that effectively.
And lastly, what about Silvercorp Metals? Their diversification strategy is interesting.
Yeah, they're kind of playing a different game than the other companies.
How so?
Well, they're not chasing the biggest silver reserves or doing flashy acquisitions.
Okay.
They're just steadily building a diversified portfolio that can weather market storms and generate those consistent returns.
So they're kind of like the wise investor who spreads their risk across different asset classes.
Exactly. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right. Which gives them a certain level of stability.
Exactly.
This has been a really great discussion. I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of the silver mining industry and the strategies that these companies are using,
Good.
especially as they navigate these uncertain times. But I do have one more question.
Okay.
What do the analysts think about the future of silver itself?
Well, most analysts are cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
They see strong industrial demand for silver, especially with growth in sectors like renewable energy and electric vehicles.
So the green revolution could be a good thing for silver demand.
Absolutely. Silver is crucial for things like solar panels and other clean energy technologies.
Right.
And as the world transitions to a more sustainable future, that demand for silver is likely to increase.
That's good news for silver miners.
Yeah.
What about the impact of inflation?
Oh, yeah. Inflation is a wild card.
It is.
It can push metal prices higher, which would be good for miners,
Right.
but it also increases operating costs, which can cut into their profits.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict how it will ultimately affect the silver mining industry.
Are there any other factors that analysts are looking at when they make their forecasts?
Yeah, they're also keeping an eye on things like global economic growth, interest rates, and any geopolitical events that might come up.
It's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, all those things can influence investor sentiment and impact the demand for silver.
It sounds like there's no easy answer when it comes to predicting the future of silver.
No, not really. It's a dynamic market with both risks and rewards.
Which I guess is what makes it so fascinating.
Exactly.
But you know what? We've analyzed these companies' current performance and the analyst outlook,
We have.
but we haven't really touched upon one crucial aspect: the sustainability of their operations.
That's a great point. It is a crucial aspect, especially these days when environmental and social responsibility are so important.
And it seems like sustainability is becoming even more important for investors and consumers.
Oh, definitely.
So are these silver mining companies taking any steps to address these concerns?
They are. A lot of them are now actively promoting their ESG initiatives, which stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Right.
They're investing in technologies to reduce their carbon footprint, to improve water management, and to minimize their impact on local communities.
That's encouraging to hear.
Mm.
Can you give me some specific examples?
Sure. Fortuna is working to restore biodiversity at their Séguéla mine in Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
They're planting native trees and creating wildlife corridors.
Interesting.
And they're also partnering with local communities to provide things like education and healthcare programs.
Wow. So they're taking a really holistic approach to sustainability, considering the environmental and social impacts.
Yeah, they are.
That's impressive. What about the other companies?
Well, first, Majestic has implemented a water management plan at their San Dimas mine,
Okay.
and it includes things like water recycling and conservation measures.
Great.
And they've also set up a community engagement program to address concerns of local residents.
So it sounds like these companies are making some genuine efforts to be more sustainable.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
But it's also important to remember that mining is an extractive industry.
It is.
There will always be some level of environmental impact.
Right. And that's why transparency and accountability are really important.
Yeah.
Mining companies need to be open about their environmental and social performance.
Absolutely.
And they need to really engage with stakeholders to address concerns and find solutions.
It's not just about implementing those sustainability initiatives, but also about demonstrating their commitment to responsible mining practices and building trust.
You got it.
And of course, investors are paying attention to that too.
Oh, yeah. They want you to invest in companies that are not just profitable, but also operating ethically and sustainably.
So it seems like sustainability is no longer just a nice to have, it's a must have
It is.
if mining companies want to thrive over the long term.
Definitely a fundamental part of their license to operate.
Right. And as we keep moving towards a more sustainable future, it's going to become even more important.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of silver mining.
It has.
We've covered a lot of ground, from earnings reports to acquisition strategies, cost control measures, diversification efforts, and the growing importance of sustainability.
A lot to think about.
So for our listeners who are following the silver market, what are some of the key takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that the silver mining industry is constantly evolving.
Right.
It's dynamic. So keep learning, keep questioning, and stay up to date on the latest trends.
And second.
Pay attention to the different strategies that these companies are using.
Right.
Some are focusing on cost control and efficiency. Others are pursuing growth through acquisitions or diversification.
And third.
Don't underestimate the importance of sustainability. It's not just a buzzword, it's fundamental to responsible mining.
Right.
It's key for attracting investors and maintaining a positive public image.
Makes
Okay.
sense. So any final thoughts?
Yeah, remember, mining is complex.
It is.
There are both risks and rewards. By understanding what drives this industry and the strategies that these companies are using,
Right.
you'll be better equipped to make informed decisions.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much for joining me today for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
For our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the world of finance and investing.
See you then.